7 o'clock. I've got to interrupt your conversations.
Oh dear.
Good evening, all.
Who needs to be
Evening.
If you all to mute yourselves, please. Right, order of speakers tonight. Dave Goodwin, Nigel Coe, Nick Brake, Graham Barrett, Nigel Dukes. So you got a good lineup. Got a couple of good ones for next week and all. I need a couple more, but I'll come to that on the end. Right, we're all muted. Yes, right.
Nick,
Right, let's start. This is
you sure I'm talking tonight?
Sorry?
Are you sure I'm talking tonight? Because I didn't know anything about that.
You got your photos on?
No, never. I only sent you one, and that one you asked for. Anyway, it's fine.
Right, this is my left of the garden, looking at the back wash, meaning I'm looking over next door's fence. These smell nice. I forget the name on them, but them little chaps over there, Cerseum, it's behind the photos. Can I get on there? No. Anyway, there's some plants up the back here. Last year, he gave me some suckers off it. And here's the chap here coming through now, just to make out the spike there. Right, greenhouse. Still got my banana skins in, no red toms yet. Don't forget, I was late putting my toms in because I weren't originally going to grow any. And then Paul had some spare plants, and he says you fancy them, so I did bung them in. So still waiting for them. But last couple of days the weather's been naff any road. Right, during the week on site we've had another break-in on the allotments. This is the first person that went down, found the gate, or found the gates I should say. So it was wide open. The padlock was still on. Now normally they cut straight through that, but because it's a decent padlock, we've got decent padlocks bloody everywhere now. But if the buggers want to get in, then they'll still get in. What they did, because when the gate was shut, that'll come to here, this bar, and then the bar slides across. Because they couldn't get their hands through to cut this, they had to jump over the gates and then cut it with an angle grinder. But it's one of them slim ones, obviously battery operated. But that's what they did, just cut that and then pulled it straight open. This was early morning, we think. Our shed was broken into again, and that's how we found that, the door wide open again. But luckily, exactly the same as last time they broke in. There's only 3 bags, 1 ton bags in there, and they're odds and ends. So there was nothing worth nicking. So that one there, our padlock, instead of cutting the padlock again, they just slice through that, the asp that comes over. Assholes. They try to get in the new one, but because this is excellent, stops the buggers getting in, or they can't get at it. But they did open all these. If you look close, you can see where they pulled it open, but it only comes out about 2.5, 3 inches because of the padlock there. So that worked against the ragworts. Locker room, which is on the right as you come in the gates, all them padlocks had been jobbed. That was our committee locker. But luckily in there, our strimmers, I've got another chain on them. But these strimmers, there was Craig, I think that one was Craig's. And then there's another locker up here, and that was Bob's. But that's how we found them. They was laid out like that. And they'd only got halfway around the lockers, meaning we think they got disturbed. Karma will job you, assholes. Perks of being chairman. I've got to bloody sort it out. Luckily, Rex, who's on our site, I asked him if he's got any contacts for a mobile welder, and luckily he had. And the works where they get us 3 numbers. And the last chap I rung, luckily he was at home and he don't live too far away, and he was out within an hour. And that was his little van he used. I never dreamed I'd end up being the freaking awesome welder, living the dream. Good lad. He was deaf as a post, couldn't hear a bloody word. Meaning, I stopped talking to him, because when I talked to him, he had to look at me to see what I was saying. So I thought, just keep your bloody mouth shut. I don't want to interrupt him welding. But I'll give the chap his due. The stuff he replaced it with was twice as thick as what was on before. Obviously, he cut it all up, made to measure. I'll zoom in on that piece there. That's what they'd cut through before. But this bloody thing, he says, let's see if we get the buggers try and get through that, because they won't. Well, they'll have to bring something big to get through it. But worked his cotton socks off. And that's the end product. Good lad. And he welded hours back on again on the shed. He was there hour and a half, hour and 3/4. Go back on that one. And he only charged us 40 quid. Well, he says, just give me a drink. I says, bloody hell. I says, 30 quid, alright. He says, yeah. So I'll give him a tip and all 40. That was cheap as a face. Plus we've got him now in case we need him again. But there's an house opposite the gate. I've got one of these doorbells. It's got a camera in it. And I went over to his house. Pressed the doorbell, obviously. And he answered. He says, was you in last night? Did you hear a disturbance or anything or whatever? He says, I'm on holiday. Meaning he was answering from bloody miles away. He says, I explained what had happened. He says, when I get back home, because if it does trip, if they come in a car and parked outside, it'll pick him up on his camera. So with a bit of luck, when he gets home, he's going to look through it and might have them little shits. But I don't even ring the cops. It's able to ring them. I don't want to know. Crime number's no good to me. Right, that's one of my gladdies I picked during the week. Nice little chap there. First speaker tonight, Dave Goodwin. You ready, Dave?
Yeah, mate. You got me?
All yours, mate.
All right, thank you, mate. It's just an update on the allotment and my onions, which are now lifted. I just thought I'd show how I go about stripping my onions back before I lift them. What I do, I clean all around the bottom of the onion, as far to the root plate as I can possibly get. This is probably about 5 weeks before we're using them. I do skin then, take some dead skins off, and then I go down to a last unbroken skin. And this has to be green, which gives the best chance to ripen. It's then split into about 4, as you can see, and I push it down into the compost. And I believe that the sap from the last skin, it works back into the bowl, leaving a smooth bottom with no signs of ribbing. Now this takes about 10 days. And what I do then, when I've done that, I cover them with newspaper because I don't want no sunlight on them. Another picture, mate. And that's it when it's stripped back. And then I cover them and then leave them for about 10 days. After 10 days, I'll cut the tops off, leaving enough to tie them. Then I'll wash them in warm water with a little bit of washing up liquid, rinse off with cold water, and then I put them to dry. Right, mate. These are some of the onions I've started drying off as of now. Again, mate. And again. When I tie the onions, when they've all dried out to the next young thin, I tie raffia right at the very top of the onion. right at the very top. The reason being because I dip the onions then into warm water, and that will have the raffia right at the top, stops any water seeping inside the loose layers and into the heart of the onion. Then I take them out of leave them in the warm water, dip them in up to the bottom of the shoulder in a bowl, and I leave them for about a minute. And this makes the tissue moist and pliable to tie without fear of cracking the skin. And as you tie the raffia around the neck, if you pull very carefully upwards on the outer skin, this makes sure there's no wrinkles left on the onion shoulder. Right, Nick. These are 8-ounce onions. There's some mainly Vivento, some are tough ball. These have been harvested now for the 250 gram class. Right, Nick. And so you've done that now to get a nice colour on them now. Again, Nick. This is on the allotment where I'm just taking my strawberry runners now for next year. The parent plant is the first year, and then I take my runners, and as I go on, the parent plant will become my second year. These runners will become my first year. Then I'll do the same again. So I've got a cycle of a 3-year-old, 2-year-old, 1-year-old. Then the 3-year-old after that are thrown away. So the 2-year-old becomes a 3-year-old, the first becomes a second, and I start again to my first years. Right, mate. These are my tomatoes in the tunnel, which are ripening off now. I've had quite a lot off at present. That's one side where I grow mainly the medium-sized tomatoes. Right, mate. And the other side is I grow my cherries and my plum tomatoes.
Nick, you got a question, mate?
Yes. Your big tomatoes. What variety are they? Are they Akron?
The variety, the first ones you can see there, they're Shirley, which I think is one of the best, in my opinion, one of the best tasting tomatoes, but they don't keep very well. The others lower down the Meccano, and then right at the very end is Kalina.
Lovely, thank you.
Suzanne, question?
Yeah. Oh, I forgot what I was going to say now. The strawberries, the runners. Yeah. How do you keep track of which one's the first, which one's the second year?
Well, the ones I'm taking off now, they're the first year I've grown. The ones I've taken, the runners.
Yeah, what I mean is once they're in, how do you know which is which?
How do you mean I don't know which is which?
Like if you're putting them in the ground, do you put them in the ground or do you put them in?
No, I haven't. That's not a very good picture, but before I think I should only have a strawberry bench.
Because I'm thinking, I'm thinking
so
if I put mine in the ground, because I've got like first year, I've got all the runners. I've had loads of runners off mine, and it's like, how do you distinguish which ones are on the first year, which ones are the runners, and once they're all in the ground?
Yeah, I keep mine separate as I've got a third year, a second year, a first year, and after the third year, I chuck them away, and then your second year becomes your third, and so on. So really, it's just a continuation all the time.
Yeah. Keeping them separate makes more sense. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Brilliant. Right, mate. I do grow a few dahlias on the allotment. They're just coming out nice now. Down at the far end, under the green netting, I keep all my greens. I've harvested the broccoli's gone, the early cabbage is gone, and under there now there's just there's some Savoy cabbage underneath, some red cabbage, and my Brussels sprouts. Right, mate. That's some beetroot and a few gladiolas at the side of it. That when some of my beetroot I grow. Right, mate. That's celeriac. I grow a little bit of that. On the left is some dwarf beans, and on the far side is declining beans, which are cobra. Right, mate. That's some more beetroot, which I grow in containers, because if you want to show beetroot, you need to keep covering the top of the shoulders. And so I grow a few in there if I want to for show, so I can keep covering the top of the shoulders as I grow it. Right now. There be dwarf beans in front, which are aquilon, and like I say, the climbing bean, which is cobra at the far end. Right, mate.
Dick, question, mate?
There be leeks. These are Warwick. I try to think that's when I sold them. They were, I think it was around about end of March, April time. But they're doing very well, and I've not had no problems with them. Touch wood up to now, and no rust on them either. So quite pleased with them.
Awesome.
Right, mate. Right, mate. These are my last of my potatoes. On the left, they're all out. They were my first earlies and second earlies. These are 2 rows of main crop now. I've took the tops off. I know they're ready. I've tried and had a look. They're all ready. So I've took the tops off because I like to do that, because with disease and everything, especially potato blight. So I'll cut them off and I shall list them as I require them now. Right, mate. That, after I took my first earlies out there, I put a row of celery in. I don't really grow an awful lot of that, but I thought I'd have a play about this year with the celery. So that's how they go on. Right, mate. Again, that's just showing a few dahlias and the celery in front of them now. Right, mate. That is my carrot bed. You can't really see that, but carrots are doing quite well under there. In fact, I'm quite pleased with them this year. They're not doing bad at all. So that's where I keep my carrots and grow my carrots under cover. Right, mate. That's my parsnip. I just put them in half barrels. I usually, at one time, used to put them in the ground. But I find it's a lot easier doing them this way, the Arctic way. They don't interfere with me doing anything else on the garden. And they grow quite well in there. So I'm quite pleased with them. They're called Sabre, that one. Right, mate. They're courgettes. I go at bottom of the garden. Again, I've 2 half barrels. I put a rub in half barrels, and I put a cane in, and just see the cane, and I tie into the cane, and they do grow upwards, and then it keeps all the fruit nice and clean, and they're ripening all the way around instead of being laid down on the floor. Right, mate. That's my bean row. I just grow one side. I used to grow a double side bean row, but now there's that many. I just grow one side, and they're a good bean. They're called Moonlight. Right, mate. A few gladiolis I've grown at the side, down the side there. I wanted to spend a bit more time next year and grow a lot more gladdies. If I get some nice stock and everything, I really want to have especially watching Mick how he's been growing and everything, I like to do a lot better than what I usually do. Right, mate. And we're just starting now, just to open out, so I'm pleased with that. Right, mate. Again, that's just looking down the garden where I've cut all the tops off the potatoes so I can just lift them. I weed all the way through, clean them up, and it's an easy job then just digging them out and taking them on. Right, mate. This is the top of my garden where I have my little orchard. I have 4 eating apples in there. I have 1 cooker, I have 2 plum and a pear, and I have one side, there's a path running through. Right, mate. And that's the opposite side of the path. So I grow my fruit all up at one end, my strawberries and my raspberries. So I keep all my fruit one end of the garden. Right, mate. And there are a few dahlias I cook for my wife, which gets me an extra potato from my dinner. And I hope that when the gladiolas come through, and I take them on. That'll get me a bit of pudding as well. Right, Nick, I think that's it.
She's brilliant, David. Thank you, sir.
Pleasure.
David?
Colin, carry away.
Just a general question, really, almost to everybody. You know, when you chop your potato haulm off,
Yeah.
do people compost it, or does it go in the green bin?
I put mine in green bin.
In the green bin, yeah.
I do. But people do compost, I know.
I
But
compost mine.
Yeah.
I
Hey,
compost mine as well.
so generally it's composted, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as it's not
If they're not blight,
diseased.
they go in the bin.
Is that wrong to compost them?
I don't know that I've heard both ways. You know, it's not a problem composting. And then somebody says, "Oh, you should never compost your potato tots." But I always think that if they look healthy and there's nothing obviously wrong with them, then bung them on. But you know,
Yeah.
if they're blighted or anything, I generally tip them in the bin.
Correct.
Yeah. Right. All right. As long as we're all on the reading from the same page.
Nick, you got your hand up, mate.
Yeah, two things. I think first on the blight of potatoes or dodgy plants. I think if you get a real high temperature in your compost bin, you know, you're talking about 40, 50 degrees, you're going to kill any pathogens or anything anyway. The other question was your French beans, your cobra. I grow a lot of those in the polytunnel and they're prolific. They go mad, never keep up with them. What sort of time do you put them out? Is it early May?
Yeah. I put mine out about early May time. I just throw that with a teepee there. I mean, like you say, you can't keep, I would give that much stuff away, which I enjoy doing anyway. There's many a time I'm filling carrier bags full and drop them off at pub. Lads share them out.
Once they start, you can't keep up
Yeah,
with them.
they're unreal, they're unreal.
Are they? I don't grow cobra. I grow blue lake. Is cobra head and shoulders above blue lake?
Cobras, I've grown several dwarf varieties and several. And cobra, if you grow them in a polytunnel, believe me, you'll have. I grew 25 plants up one side, and I must have picked 40, 50 kilos.
Yeah,
Hey?
they're
How do you
unreal.
pollinate them then, Nick?
Sorry,
How do you pollinate them?
you don't just leave them.
I grow both cobra and blue lake, and really I can't see no difference between them. But I think next year I'm going to be going to the dwarf ones rather than the climbing.
I think I'll do the same, Nigel, because you just can't keep up with them.
Yeah.
There's a guy who I follow on YouTube. You might know him, a chap named Dan Unsworth.
Yeah, I know, Dan.
Well, he grows a variety called Ferrari. He's had a fantastic crop this year.
I've seen some of his veg. He's done well.
Yeah, the one I grow is a dwarf breed is Aquilon. I think that's a beautiful tasting bean. That's the one I've got in the picture at the bottom. They're nice.
I'll grow the dwarf climbers simply because of ease of cropping. You know,
Yeah.
just stand there and pull them off by handfuls rather than getting down to ground level, which is a struggle now for me. So that's why I stick.
Colin, have a go at cobra next year. You won't be disappointed.
I've made a note, Nick. Thank you. I will get some. I've just had a seed catalogue come actually from where are we? Shelley's. So I'll have a look, see if they've got
Premier Seeds sell 50 cobra seeds for 99 pence.
Premier.
Premier Seeds, yeah.
Okay. Right. Cheers. I made a note.
Okay, Dave, thanks for your input, your update.
Yeah. Cheers, Dave.
Right, if you
Right.
remember, our new venue for our gardening club is now at Cradley Town Football Club. Now, they paid for that sign to go on the front of there, obviously telling people or letting them know that it is now our home, i.e. Colligate Gardening Club. If you remember, this is the back end of the sign, so if people come in uphill, there's nothing on there telling them. So what I had, when our Ben was at home, I had him to make that, and we've now had that made to put back on the back of that sign. And That's got to be sorted out by next week. So people coming up or downhill, they know where we are. Just helping people out again. People's postcode lottery. I've been in that a couple of years now. And I had an email of one. It says, tell all your friends. Oh, so I'm telling you. What did I win? A tenner. Better than sod all, I suppose. But it does lift you for about 10 seconds. And then you drop down again. But it says, tell your mates. Right, this was at Malvern. It's got to be 10, 12 years ago. I was doing a demo down there. Just point out my bottle of piddle, which you have to carry around everywhere with you. And while I was there, this is the first time that I met Nigel Davenport. He's a good lad. He's a bit of a geek, i.e. he's mycorrhizal fungi, bacteria and all this stuff. And he's a very knowledgeable bloke. He was down there, there's quite a few of them, and they talked away and they bloody lost me. But I found it fascinating. And he owns the Nutrient Company, or TNC. But he messaged me during the week. They are Nutrient Company, TNC Limited. Rochdale, his place is. And I messaged him. Hi Mick, how you doing? Because I asked him what he got out new yet. He says nothing new out yet. Brexit is hitting me hard, so all focus has been getting through this year. TNC Mycore Max, which will be renamed to Mycore Plus, is still the best all-rounder. I see what is best all-rounder for the gardener. TNC Bactor S13 is a solid bacterial product mixed with soil, mixed with water for an instant compost tea. So if you're going to make a compost tea, that's the stuff for that. Then you try Core P5, 5 different species of Trichoderma. These fungi are very well known for plant and soil protection. Best place to buy is off Amazon while the pandemic is on. I choose to stick with them and close my own shop while lockdown and quarantines were ongoing, and they've been solid. So he's hoping to get back online again, because obviously you can get straight off his website, but he was struggling like loads of other people. You can remember, well, quite a few years now, I've mentioned the mycorrhizal, and then his endo and ecto mycorrhizae. And if they find a new one next week, it'll either be an endo or ecto, and then they'll give it a little number or a name and bring it out. But that's some of the stuff that you can look for. So the mycorrhizal inoculant there is £7.5, but this is the dogs. Just have a perv online, but he has some good brews. Right, we flew down the bottom orchard on the plot. He's no good for showing, so I'm going to eat him. Obviously the other side. And another couple of weeks, these will be corkers, meaning for our show. I'll still let him in the road. Nice. Right, this is a trial somebody's been doing on site. This is Nina, has got a full plot down the bottom. And has been using the contacts I got from in muck. And these two here were horse muck. And then I trialled the next three, which are these three, chicken muck. And you can see them three there have outdone these two. Meaning, chicken, well, you know it, chicken muck anyway, has got stronger nitrogen, ratio of nitrogen. So that's what the beans like, high nitrogen feed. So if you get all the chicken muck next year, bung them on your beans. And that one, I took another photo. Now these were planted at the same time. Obviously they'd been mucked just up to that bit there. So I planted at the same time. Started off the greenhouse and then I bung the plants out. So these are the same plants, but that is just different bit of muck on it. So it does work. There's my young Robin again, composting, sorting him out. Chap wouldn't come on my hand, so I put him on a slab for him. Right, getting my beans on. If somebody will go over, as I mentioned before, I don't waste them, I just take the beans out. Bung them, bag them up. I used to blanch these before I freeze them, but now I don't bother blanching. I'll just get all the air out of the bag, knot it, and bung them in the freezer. And they still taste the same when you get them out.
Really?
Boston.
Mick?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt.
Come on.
That's interesting because I'm just processing them now. How long will they keep now in the freezer, do you reckon?
Not long as you bloody ate them.
Unblanched?
3-4 months.
Oh, right. I'll do that. It's pain in the I can't be.
I did it last year because I hadn't got the time, and when we got them out, I got dates on them. I thought, bloody hell, these only went in a while back.
Yeah.
And the taste was very good, so that's it. Right, top of the plot, the raspberries, autumn treasure. I've started growing out again, meaning they need tying up. So there, I've tied them up. I've also thinned these out as well. Air movement around them all, if I remember. Jerry, you might be on later on if anybody's got any questions on fruit. If you can get away from his family. But I mentioned before, you've got to have air movement around all your fruit. That's why you thin out. There's that little chap I had off my next door neighbour. He should be open by next week. Anybody recognise him?
Is it a daylily? No? No, it isn't. Might be a daylily.
I think it is, Colin. It looks like it. Emmerich.
The leaves on the left look very similar to a daylily, but I can't really tell from the flowers. But yeah.
I suppose it'd be easy to ask him, wouldn't it?
It looks like Emmerich. It is a daily, I think.
Yeah.
Oh.
Come on then.
Right, shuffle.
Anybody done back to back?
Right, you've shuffled up. Tim. David Bradley. What a name. No system resource in there.
Jenny.
Jenny King.
Jenny King.
Well done. Right, let's clear that up. Right, composting week again. This is back garden, don't forget. So now we're just getting settled in and a routine for me. As I lift the carpet, I've got activity down there, worms, which is what I want to see. And that's what I'm putting in. Different ingredients chopped up, smaller the better. This is inside the bin, so that is the door on the front, which I've never used before, but I'm going to start using now. So I'm just getting up to that door, which is down here. So that's gone in. He's had a good soaking, and now I've bought a second carpet up the same size. Give that a watering, and then put a third carpet on. So now I've got 3 carpet lids, all moist, and now, well, as it starts working away, that warmth in between the 2 carpets will give me extra worms. Hopefully. It has done before, it should do again. Right, new walking spot with a hound and bracken on the right. Hordes on it. This was up Russell's Hall Hospital. Well, I had to go drop the missus off, but I had to hang about for about 3/4 of an hour, and it saved me going back home and coming again. I just googled the place, and straight opposite you got the Fens Nature Reserve. I didn't even know it was there. so I just walked straight on the road and took the hound. And there's bloody great lakes. It's hard to get to. It's a right rough track, but me and the hound had a good perv round. Now I know where there's loads of bracken. Right, Nigel, you ready, mate? Our second speaker with his update.
Yeah, fine, mate. No worries.
Good man, all yours.
Well, last week there was one or two people asking me about sort of, you know, what judges look for at shows and things like that, and how to get them like that. So we've whacked a few slides on tonight with a few facts and figures and numbers. It's can be a bit complicated, but you take the time to sort of think about it. It does make sense. But basically, what the judge is looking for, if you look at that sort of spike second in from the right, the pink one, that's the sort of shape you're looking for. All the florets facing forward, so many full out, so many in colour, and so many in tight bud. And you'll notice that these have all got white centres. Basically, they've all got pieces of cotton wool stuffed up them to actually sort of open them out a bit more to try and get this teardrop shape. So from the tip of the spike, which is fully closed buds, down to the bottom, you've got a nice sort of teardrop shape that you're aiming for. With others, with some it's easier than with others. So you can see there the bits of cotton wool. So you pop them in, leave them in there for a couple of hours, take them out, and the floret should stay in that position. Next one to it, further across to the right, one in the middle, a big white one, you'll see some bits of blue string tied up around the top of it. That's very soft wool. So basically, each size classification has an optimum number of flowers it should have open. You're very lucky if you get the right amount of flowers on the right day, but you can slow them down a bit by just tying a little bit of string around them loosely and then just whipping it off at the last minute. The judge will look at them at perhaps 9 o'clock in the morning. They'll only have the 7 or 8 flowers open. He'll judge them and give them a prize. Half an hour later, if them other ones have opened up, it's done a map. He's already been through and judged them. It doesn't matter if you've got 10 open then. What we look at that time when the judge is right in front of it. So my dad, when he used to grow and donkeys years ago, he used to use matchboxes or woodbine cigarette packets sort of thing and just drop them over and whip them off at the last minute. But nowadays it tends to be a little bit of wool.
Suzanne, you got a question?
Well, he's just answered it actually. I was going to say the wall that's round them. Can you leave that on during showing?
No.
During judging, but you just said take it off just before.
And any artificial aids sort of warrant disqualification. So I mean, even some people use pins to pin florets in place, just to get the right positioning, and then take them out at the end. They should be taken out. So anything like that, bits of cotton wool, bits of wool that you've tied up around them, anything like that should be removed. It's easy enough to forget an odd little bit sort of thing, So if we get to a show, an actual physical show, and we're judging them, and somebody has left an odd ball of cotton wool in them, we just take it out and stick it in as pockets and just assume it's going to be fine. If it happens time and time again with the same exhibitor, then you might start looking at sort of thinking, he's doing this on purpose sort of thing.
Okay, lovely. Thanks.
Okay, Nick. Next one. Right, don't know whether you can see that. I need my glasses to see it myself. So basically, people are asking what the sizes were. When we put them on the online shows, you've got various size classifications. There's the small ones, which are the Primulines ones with the hood on them. And then there's 5 sizes. The miniatures and the smalls are usually clumped together. So that's basically anything between 1.5 and 3.5 inches across at its widest point, as you can see there at the top where it says 100 miniature, 200 small. Next one is the medium flowered one. They should be 3.5 inches to 4.5 inches across, and this is on the bottom floret at its widest point without having to sort of fold the petals back with your fingers. So just hold a tape measure up against it, and that's what you're measuring. And then the 500 size is the giant, which is anything above 5.5 inches. and that can be sort of, you know, up to sort of 7, 8 inches if you've got a real big variety. They all 1 or 2 about and like that. Now, if you see a catalogue for gladioli, you'll quite often see a three-digit number next to it. And that will be a number that denotes the size and the colour. So of the 3 digits, the first one is the size it would be. So if it had a 4 as the first digit, that would be a large flowered, as you can see at the top there. The next 2 digits are the colour. So if it was 22, we move down to 22, Mick, orange, a light orange. So 422, a light orange, large flowered. And similarly, if it had a 5 in the front, it would be a giant flowered. So I know one of Mick's favourite ones is of Singular Beauty. That has a 5 in the front of it, which means it's giant. And then the next 2 digits, 00, pure white. So a white 500 is of Singular Beauty. So, you know, if you're looking sort of at a catalogue and it does have these numbers on it, these figures will give you a bit of a clue as to really what it's going to look like when you've finished or when you've flowered it.
Yeah. Nigel, question, mate?
A quick one, Nigel.
Yeah.
That numbering system there,
Yeah.
does that apply to all or just single colours? Will it apply to multicolour?
Now, what happens with a multicoloured one? If you see that line just underneath the numbers, Mick, where your arrow is,
Yeah.
the second and third digits denote the colour, with an odd number in the third digit representing a conspicuous marking. So if it was, instead of 500, if it was 501, you have 500 for it being giant, 01 would be the fact that it was white with a blotch.
Right, I got you.
21 would be orange with a blotch.
Yeah.
23, a darker orange with a blotch. 25, an even darker orange with a blotch, and so on.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Excuse me. Okay, so this is what the judges are looking for. These are our point scoring cards. It's very rare that a judge will actually need to use these, but even at a sort of a large show, you can usually pick out the best flower without having to resort to actually writing numbers down and things like that. But these are the things that sort of warrant a good one. And it's a bit difficult with the online shows. I know Suzanne, Steve, and 1 or 2 others have put flowers in our online shows. And there's only so many of these categories that you can actually see from a photo. What you can see is the first one. So you get 12 points for the number, a maximum of 12 points for the number of buds you've got. And if you go down to the bottom, Mick, where we've got the class and it says the sizes underneath, further down, that's it. And then across to the right-hand side, for each size, you can see how many buds it should have, how many flowers it should have open, and how many in colour. So if we look at, say, a 400 size, which is large, that should have a minimum of 19 buds open. Okay, that gets you the 6 points, but you can get up to an extra 6 points for every bud you've got over and above that 19. So what you're looking for really is 25, and that gets you the maximum 12 points. Open flowers is for a 400 size, you need 8. And for that, you'd get 8 points. You can buds in colour, you get 3 points. The size of the flower, difficult to see from a photo, but if it looks as though it's up to size for what it should be, i.e. large, giant or medium, you get 4 points. The spacing is where you're looking for that solid ribbon of colour. Yours is a good one that's just gone on, Suzanne, because that's got no gaps in between each floret at all. That's what,
I'm interested. Good.
That's what you're looking for. You're looking for a solid ribbon of colour.
Yeah. Because I only had a few flowers and they were all the same.
Yeah.
So I've literally taken, as one's flowered, I've quickly taken a picture of it, and I must have just got it at the right time, because it looked okay, but obviously what they're looking for is different to what I see.
Yeah.
So
the facing, where it says facing, that's basically, are all the florets facing forwards, or are some going sideways, backwards? 6 points available for there. And then you get substance and texture. Well, there's obviously no way you can judge that from a photograph, but you can if you're in there in real life, and that's just basically having a gentle feel of the petal. You're looking for like a waxy type substance, and rather than tissue paper sort of substance. Form of the flower, is it, are all the florets the same shape, really, I suppose is the best way of putting that. Again, calyx and attachment, what it looks like from the back. Are all the flowers well held where they should be on the stem? But you can't really see that from a photo because we're only looking at them front on. Again, flower freshness, difficult from a photo, but you can see sometimes if the bottom flowers are just beginning to die back a bit. Beauty and colour is an interesting one, because there's 100 marks available over the entire spike, and beauty and colour gets 20 points of that. So 20% of the marks. What you're looking for there is evenness of colour from the bottom up to the top. So if it's say a dark red, is it the same dark red on the last floret that's opened as it is on the first, or have they faded? And again, back to what Nigel was saying about blotches and things like that. If it has a blotch or a distinguishing feature like a spot or a spear in the throat or something like that, is that the same on every floret? If it isn't, you would get down pointed. And to be truthful, there's very, very few sort of blotched varieties that have even markings all the way up, which is why when you'll notice on the online shows, a lot of the winning spikes tend to be plain pink, plain yellow, plain white. The top exhibitors tend to sort of steer away a little bit from the blotched varieties. There's odd one or two out there that are okay, but the majority of them are sort of plain coloured. The refinement of the balance of the flower head, that's what I was saying about this teardrop shape. You want so many in tight bud, so many in colour, and so many open. So basically, you're looking at sort of a third of it in tight bud, a third of it in colour, and a third of it sort of stem. So to give you the sort of the shape that we're looking for. Straightness, get my teeth in. Straightness and strength, stroke form of stem. Pretty self-explanatory, really. You need a strong stem to hold the florets on it, and that needs to be straight, which is why we, as exhibitors, put a cane against every one and several ties up to tie the flower to the cane to keep it straight. And add all those together, and you get a mark out of 100. A really, really good spike will probably come in at about 95, 96 out of 100. An average one that sort of, you know, looks okay but has got faults, you're probably looking somewhere between 65 and 70. So, you know, you can see where the sort of the points rack up a bit there. And the Primulinus ones, Mick, pretty similar really, but there's more emphasis put on that. If you see point number 8, form of flower, there's 10 points out of 100 are available on a Primulinus. That's because you need that hooded top floret. If that's not there, you get really severely down pointed.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. We did have a little comment last week about cutting the spike and leaving as many leaves on it as you can.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you can see it here, but that is my cutting tool. That's my little Stanley craft knife. Yeah, pack of three in home base for a couple of quid. I slide the knife down in between the stem and that inside leaf, and then turn it upwards and cut at a 45-degree angle, and then just lift the spike out. That way I can leave as many leaves as I can on the plant, and they're going to feed the bulb underground for next year. and you cut it at a 45-degree angle, because basically, if you just bear with me a second. I don't know whether you can, there's my vase. If I put a flower spike in straight down, that's cut straight across the bottom, it's going to sit on the bottom of the vase and won't take any water up. If it's got an angle on it, put a 45-degree angle on it, it still goes down to the bottom of the vase, but it has a larger surface area, and only the tip of that bottom of the spike is actually sitting in the water, and therefore it can take more water up and it'll keep it fresher for longer. Okay, Mick, I think that was it, wasn't it? Oh yeah, there's, so yes, this is the cornlets. This is the stock for next year and the year after and the year after that. They're just beginning to flower now. What I do with these, I'll let each one flower just to see that it's what it's supposed to be. So there's a little label in every pot, and if the look of the flower matches what the label says it should be, we nip it out and then just keep the leaves growing, keep feeding them, keep watering them through to about October, end of September time, and then they get knocked out the pot and treated like normal sort of large corns, dried off and saved. But these looking pretty good at the moment. So as I say, that as long as the flower matches the label, we're happy.
Suzanne, you got a question?
Yeah, sorry to keep asking questions.
No.
When you're cutting them and you're putting them in a vase, like I've obviously cut them for the online show, and then I've put them in a vase. But after a couple of days, they're starting to wilt. The lower flowers are starting to wilt. So how do you keep them in flower for longer than that, like for a while?
Well, A, you can't, because it's part of the flower's natural sort of life cycle, and B, you shouldn't need to, because basically you only need, as I said, a set amount of flowers open. Most varieties will hold that 7, 8, 9 flowers open. If you get more than that open,
I'm just thinking for, like, if you take it home, like I've obviously taken that photo and then I've put it in a vase, and it's just started wilted. So I'm just trying to keep it looking good for longer. Just for my personal benefit, really.
Yeah. They'll still only hold 7, 8, or 9 florets open, no matter what you do. A lot of florists will actually tell you, "Oh, take the top of take the tip of the spike out, and they'll flower all the way up to the top." Well, they will do, because they're only going to have 8 or 9 or 10 flowers to open, because you're getting the rest of them. What you need to do, Suzanne, is as they die off, take them off, take the bottom ones off as they die off. Every couple of days, shorten the stem by 1 inch, and they will actually, every flower up to the top will open in its own order, but you'll never get it open from the bottom floret all the way up to the top of the spike.
Okay, all right, then I'll do that. Because there's about 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 6 flowers that are sort of all closed up now at the bottom.
Take them off, shorten the stem, put it back in the vase, and the rest of them further up.
Okay, I'll do that then. Thanks.
If you buy them in the florist shop, you'll find that none of the buds are open, Nigel.
Yeah.
Over in the florist shop.
Yeah.
I've tried giving them some exhibition ones, and they said, "Oh, they're too far gone for us."
Yeah. Well, what they want is once you've got them sort of the bottom floret about half open, they should actually open. But the florists, you see, they're not sort of trying to sell you a bunch of flowers that's going to last 3 weeks or a fortnight. They're trying to sell you a bunch of flowers that they know will die off after a week, so that you go back next week and get another lot.
Paul, you got a question, mate?
Yeah, what do you feed them, Nigel, with?
Usually just a couple of dressings of Grow More during the growing season.
Grow More.
And round about this time of year, a bit of sulphate of potash, just for sort of hard
lovely
stems off, strengthen them up a bit.
Cheers, Nigel.
No worries. So this one, I did actually show one of these earlier on in the year, and we still can't manage to get it to show its true colour. This is Flodden which is a real sort of mahogany brown one. This is a bit nearer than the one we showed earlier on that was almost red, but the camera doesn't seem to like this sort of brown colour on it. But this is Flodden, a very old one, and this is a Primulinus, and you can see what I was talking about, the hood on the top of it. So that top petal is coming out at an angle, protecting the pollen and reproductive organs, and that is one of the, well, that is the primary asset that a Primulinus has, is this hooded floret. If it hasn't got that, the judge will be, you know, he'll be walking on to the next one along the bench. This is one of a guy called Frank Hartnell bred. It's not particularly a brilliant show specimen, but the colours, you know, sort of really outstanding lip petals on those. This sort of mauvey coloured against the dark pink, a bit like the colours you get on quite a lot of fuchsias. But really outstanding colour and a really strong grower. It's called Louise C. Thanks, Nick. This is another one. This was raised in the 60s. This is called Hastings. Again, a sort of orangey brown colour. Quite a dainty little thing. Won't compete with the top show varieties that we see around today, but you know, I keep one or two of them going for sort of sentimental reasons, really. Okay, Mick. And there's Mick with his tape measure out.
Yeah, this is a photo I showed Nigel during the week, just confirming what he said earlier on. Bottom flower, just measure across as it is, because that bottom on there, because it's got weather damage, oil, rain, wind, or whatever, that'll come off. So obviously, in fact, I could have took him off at the time, but that will be the bottom flower. So that's what I'm measuring, and in being a 4-inch, just to get it in the, make sure I'm putting it in the right class for the online show.
Just as a bit of an aside there, Mick.
Yeah.
The judge will have noted that the bottom flower would have been off, and the second flower probably isn't as big as the one below it would have been. That's why it would have gone into the sort of class that I told you to put it in, because really, that, I think I told you it was a large flowered one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is 4.5 inches to 5.5 inches across. You've measured it at 4.
Yeah.
But the judge would have known that the floret below would have been a good 4.5 to 5 inches. They're not overly strict on it. A 1/4 of an inch either way, they'll let go, unless it's the smaller flowered varieties, which they tend to be a bit stricter on regards size.
Yeah.
Okay.
Real.
So there we are. That's that's the sizes, which are what we were saying how big they should be.
Yeah, medium. And that's me doing another one again, bottom flower, 4-inch. Online show just gone last week. I put these 3 in, but it didn't come anywhere. But I was chuffed with them. That has done well in our show, but that's in a couple of weeks' time, so that's out the window.
It was a particularly good show this week. There was a lot of really good flowers in there.
Some corkers in. Right, and we have 2 of our members. Steve got a second, and Keith got a third with his. Excellent. And there's Steve. Steve, you got your hand up, mate?
Yeah, a quick one for Nige.
Yeah.
You know, you say all the floodage, you want them to be facing forwards.
Yeah.
If you've got some that are going to the side, is there any tricks that you can bring them forward?
Let me just see if I can get a picture of this. Hold on a second. I'll just get a flower.
There's my birds.
Right, where are we? Well, you can see that or not. There we are. That's a bit better, isn't it?
Yeah.
Turn it round. There's the back. Yeah. All see that?
Yeah.
Bit of cotton wool. tuck it down in between, in behind the floret, get it to sort of just hold in position, leave it there for a couple of hours, and it should bring it forward. The other thing you can do is, as they're growing, and do it in the heat of the day, not the cold of the morning or the evening. Have a walk around the plot and just press at the back of the floret there, so it just eases it forward. That'll encourage it to go into the right position. There's one or two varieties that tend to be a bit more awkward than others. There's a big white one called Amsterdam that's an absolute pain trying to get all the flowers facing the right way. But with a bit of practice and a bit of sort of time, you can actually do it. It's a case of basically walking around the plot every chance you get and easing the buds forward to start with, really.
Thanks, Nigel.
No worries.
Yeah, mention that there, Nigel, about being it's the same with leeks. With my blanch leeks, when the flag's at the top, they're more supple dinner time. They've had a bit of warmth on it, you know, started growing a bit. Like if it's early morning or last thing at night, they get a bit stiff and you might send them splitting.
Yeah.
Like dinner time, it's them nice and supple and they will move.
The one thing you don't want to hear when you're doing this and trying to sort of manipulate the buds forward is you don't want to hear
a crack up.
Yeah. Once that's gone, that's it. You've snapped it. It might look as though it's in place, but you've actually snapped it right down at the back of the sort of flower, and it'll just sort of shrivel and don't drop out.
Yeah.
And we've all done it. We've all been there.
Oh.
It still happens now, but you know.
Yeah. Steve.
That's part of the reason that you find that sort of a lot of the top exhibitors are retired people, because they've got the time to go down at dinner time when the sun's out and it's nice and soft, and all the rest of us are out at work, sort of thing. You know?
Oh. Steve, mate.
Is there a best time of day to cut the flowers?
Early in the morning, really, when there's, you know, they've had a nice. If you cut them on a hot day in the middle of the day when the sun's been on them, you know, they're a little bit dehydrated. If you cut in the cool of the morning, they've sort of had a nice cool night, and they're sort of, you know, at the sort of most refreshed, shall we say. Having said that, again, it's, you know, it's whatever time you've got, really. I don't usually get time to go down to mine till about sort of, you know, after I've had my tea till sort of 6 o'clock at night, you know. So you just, if you've got to cut them at night, get them back home and get them in some deep water as soon as you can.
Nigel?
Just another one, Nigel, on about manipulating the flowers into one direction.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried using the grow light in front of them so the intense light's right in front to pull the flowers in that way?
No, I haven't, I must admit. I don't know whether it would work at this stage. It probably would. I don't know. If you could get the sunshine in the same place all day long,
yeah,
pointing at them, you know, it'd be grand. I don't know whether it would turn the buds round. I think it may turn all the stem round at all as well. So that you've got that were out of position might come round towards the grow light. Yeah. It's what it would do to the ones that were already open. I don't know.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
Nick?
Yeah, I think the grow lights at this time of the year wouldn't make any difference. Just the sunlight levels would outweigh any grow light by the lumens available from the sun compared with the grow light.
Steve, you got another question, or is that an old hand up you got? No, he ain't.
Sorry, Mick.
Sorry? Sorry
about that. I'll put my hand there.
Okay, mate. This is the one Keith Hines put in, which was this one, is light lavender.
I think that one's called Lavender Rose.
Sorry?
Called Lavender Rose, I think, that one.
Lavender Rose, yeah. But nice one, Keith. Good to see the zoomers in. Not a very good photo, but I've got the Gladys pointing out to keep the postman happy. Right, just a couple of photos Nick put on during the week. You want to just talk through these two, Nick? Nick, you still there, mate? He's gone for the piddle.
Yeah, sorry. No, I'm here. I had it muted. Yeah, it's been a really strange year for growing onions, leeks, or big onions. These are grown in the greenhouse at home, and it's strange. These are about 4.5 to 5 pounds. But back in April, I haven't got no pictures, which I will send to Mick. I put some outside in mid-April, and they've grown to 6, 7, 8 pounds in frosts, not looked after, neglected completely. So, but these are just drying out now on the rings, and hopefully they'll be ready in 3 weeks' time for a show up in Birmingham. I think it's Colligate. I think.
Johnny Colligate, or
yeah, that's them drying again. So, like I said, they're just I haven't concentrated that much on them, but they should make good class bulbs in about 3 weeks' time for the show. The next one, Mick. So here's my cat Mabel coming into the greenhouse, trying to help me. So these are ready to be lifted. These are the big ones. They're probably around, I think, probably around 12 pounds. I was going to weigh them tonight and send Mick a picture, but I haven't. So they've done fairly well, considering it's not off my own stock. I've seen other growers growing them to about 9.5, 10 pounds, but I think these will probably do about 12 pounds. And I'll be keeping these. I'll be taking one to the show up near Mick at Colligate, and the others I'll be keeping for seed. Been a difficult year, really strange. What with COVID, no shows. Normally I would have been showing these probably around now, 2 or 3 county shows, Dorchester, Taunton, Melplash, some county shows, but it's a bit disappointing. But I'll be starting again in mid-October, and hopefully I'll have some of my own stock this year off seed, and we'll get some decent sized bulbs. That's about it, really.
Nick?
Yes.
Do you sell your seed to people, or
no, I don't sell them. I give them away. I've never. I don't believe in selling seed. I believe in sharing. So I've got 3 good heads up in my plot polytunnel that are. But I never guarantee anything. I think in 4 or 5 weeks' time, sort of to the end of September, I'll know what I've got then.
All right, mate. Well, I'll have a chat with you. I'd appreciate a few seeds for off good giant stock like that, because I can't grow. I just like to grow, not for showing purposes, but just to say that I've grown a big onion, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's about yeah. I mean, the stock I'm growing off next or come October are off bulbs around 15.5 pounds.
Yeah.
So I always say yes, I will send you some seed if I've got them, but if I haven't got them, you can't have them. Simple as.
Is this the same strain that Peter Glazebrook grows?
So this strain here is off Billy Lamb. It is off Peter Glaze. These seeds are not off Billy Glazebrook. These seeds go back to 2000, and I got these in 2017, 2016. Right. So it's really difficult. If you look at the bulbs, it's really difficult to keep them going through the winter. I purposely haven't watered these for about 5 weeks now, just so that normally I would go to Harrogate or Malvern or something like that and show them I knew. So these aren't the best stock, if you get what I mean. The ones I've got in the polytunnel now that are been pollinated are the better stock. These are off, but they're still a Billy Lamb strain, but they're not a hybrid seed, if you understand what I mean.
Can you eat them, Nick?
Sorry?
Can you eat them?
Yeah. You can eat them, but I don't. I have done. So I've got I've probably got about a dozen bulbs that I'll probably give away and I'll just keep the bigger ones and the show ones for seed for next year. You can eat them; they're fine. But if you want to save them, the trick that I would say to anybody that's growing big onions is don't overwater them late season. Let them dry out. Introduce loads of when I say loads, drop your NPK and put in some more potash and phosphorus into the bulbs to harden them up, to store them over winter, because come January these will go into pots ready for spring, which will obviously self-generate and produce some seed heads.
So how long does it take to get to that stage from seed?
That takes about, that was, where are we to now? Mid-August. So I think I started these probably a bit early, mid-October till now.
So about a year.
Yeah.
Wow.
10, 11 months. The big ones I've grown, sort of really big ones, has been from the beginning of October till the beginning of September when they die off. So about 11 months, I'd say, if you time it right, weather permitting, obviously.
Right, thanks.
Yeah. These are probably gone past their best before date now, but I've got no shows to show them to, apart from when I come to Colligate. These will be saved. Proceed.
Cheers, mate.
No worries. That's it, I think, Mick. Thank you.
Yeah. Right, going through our garage, I was having a rustle through, and I found one of my last flit sprayers, and Nick was on about this a couple of weeks ago. So when he comes up, because he's bring some stuff to our show, I'm going to donate him with that, because he's a good lad. Right, these are Roger and my mate from Dimmock. He put these on during the week. Some of his produce he picked. Nice dollop of blackberries, and there's a nice purple gladdy. Beautiful colour. That looks like a velvety and all. Right, Graham Barrett, update from the plot. Graham's a good exhibit and all. Me and Nick meet up with him every now and then, but we can get away with it. But he's from Gloucester, and he was on a couple of weeks ago, if I remember, or it might have been last week, with his longest chili, his chili pepper. But his best of his cucumbers at 37 inches a day. I don't think that there's any more growth in it now. But we'll go through the produce he's bunged on. There was his 18-inch chili, which he got the UK record with, which you saw last week. There we go, proof of the pudding. Right, this is long cucumber, 37 inches. Probably these are for Malvern and other shows. I know he has a local heavyweight show as well. But that's so far. Then his rejects, his Duffins. So he'll either give them away or eat them or do something with them. His best tomato, this is 22 inches round at the moment. As you can see, it's got to be supported, obviously, because of the weight of the thing. So you got to tie him up. And that was his Waterfield pumpkin. Oh, there's different strains. I know that some of the big strains come from the States. And as you can see, he's got a bit of cover over them, bit of protection. But these take some bloody lifting as well. And you can see that is undercover as well.
Can I just butt in, Mick?
Yeah, of course you can.
These pictures, I know Graham well. And these pictures underestimate the size of these things. These, you know, I mean, this is big stuff.
Good God.
This is squash. £877. That was a personal best. But he come close to a world record last year, but the States wouldn't recognise it because it was that was on about the seed he'd used. Anyway, he'll get there. But he's a good grower. He's doing well. He was coming up to our show with Nick, but he got jobbed for babysitting before. One of the family jobbed him. If I'd have got in 2 weeks earlier, we'd have had him as well. Scott put this on earlier. If you remember, we had a talk earlier on about biochar, and this was a little piece that was I think the RHS put it on during the week. but that was a good little read. There's a hound in a normal distressed use state. 3 more gladdies I bunged in. Them down there were good, but them all right in the kitchen for any troops passing. Right, joined veg down the plot. This is me undercover. I've still got me green at the end, but there's leeks and swede. These should have been entered last week at the Bailey Glamorgan show. Obviously, it weren't on. So I've topped them. They will go in the compost. Lifted them, and the leeks. These have been no good for show. So I've topped and tailed them. Another gladdy while I was down there, picked him as well. And also I've trimmed out all my grapevines. I want better fruit, so exactly the same as everything else. The more you thin out, like I do with my raspberries and my apples, you get larger and sweeter fruit. So I've trimmed them as well. And this was new growth coming off again. And I fed them with Maxicrop during the week, so all the nourishment now will go into the grapes, because I have pinched out at the end because he's reached the end of the wire in the tunnel. So these was nice and trimmed, nice and clean, washed off. That was all washed off ready and dried, ready to take up the This is my local which is local to us, just up the road. And I give them 3 leeks and a swede. And they was chuffed with that. Then somebody else saw it, somebody else who's local, and they work at a local community centre, asked to see if we got anything else. Luckily I went down the plot and somebody put these out with spare, any spare stuff they put out on the right hand pathway. So I thought I'll grab them for this woman who's asking, because all I've got left, which is loads of rhubarb. Obviously I want to keep everything else because of our shows coming up. Nick, yes mate?
Yeah, just looking at the overgrown courgettes. We all get them every year. I mean, I've grown about 15 plants this year. Yeah. And picked and picked and picked and picked. Anybody got a recipe that they use for their large courgettes, or what, if you want to call them marrows? Because I end up, it might sound bad, but I end up chopping them up and putting them in the compost.
Yeah, my wife makes a courgette cake, but there's only so much of that you can eat.
Yeah. Paul, you got round up, mate?
Yeah, give them the ducks and chickens. I love them.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, when I dropped these up this morning, the wench who had them, is going to make soup out of them lot.
I made a lovely chocolate cake the other day. Chocolate courgette, that was really nice.
I've heard that a lot of the Polish community, which I work with quite a lot, that actually take the middles out and use it like a jacket potato and mix.
Nick, we've lost you.
Your sound's gone, Nick.
Nick, lost you, mate.
No sound.
Paul, you finished your question, or you got another one?
No, they do bread as well. They make bread out of it as well. I've been told.
Oh.
Cuisine bread.
They're nice in fajitas. Very nice in fajitas. They stay. Chop them up.
There's this problem every year. Me bringing courgettes in and wondering what to do with them. One of our favourite recipes is just chop them up very finely with a lot of chopped onions and make fritters out of them. Just fry them in a shallow frying pan. Lovely, quick snack for dinner.
Oh, there we go.
No, when do you go make wine, Mick?
Nice ratatouille if you get an aubergine as well, but you can only eat so much of that, but it does freeze well.
Oh,
God.
Cut centre out, fill it full of pork and stuffing and bung it in oven.
Right, back garden. Because I've got to utilise all my space up the back garden. We've never done anything here, which is obviously the back end of the garden. Right, I've got pots down there with my gladdies in. So I've got to clear this area here, i.e. that lot. That's where my ladders used to be, on the brackets. I've took one bracket off there. I thought I'd take a photo first. So there's a bracket and them
1,
two.
2, 1, 2.
Where my ladder used to be chained up. And luckily this came off. All these screws came off easily, which I didn't think they would. So that was all cleared. But what I've done, because what's going here is me 2 blackberries, and they'll be trained up. Basically, that's the netting which I had down the side here. So there'll be the blackberries will grow through them. So I'm still using that space to close that photo up.
You're growing in pots, Mick?
The 2 blackberries, yeah, or it might be a small tub. Yeah, it might be a small tub.
Yeah.
But the bee raised beds, like me raised bed, I got up this end here for me gladdies. That one out the skip.
Yeah.
It'd be either a small tub down there for the blackberries, and then raised beds here for more gladdies.
I might reckon now.
Yes.
Yes.
You mind your blackberries don't take over, Mick?
Yeah, I know.
And get a thornless variety with that narrow path.
It is thornless.
Yeah.
And also I'm filling in all the cracks, which never been done. So I'm jobbing them as well. Andy, how's? No panic, mate. I'm only talking about you. He's a good lad. He asked me if I needed a table down our trading sheds, and me and Mark was down there week Saturday, bottling some stuff up, and we usually do it on the edge of the shed. Meaning we're bending, but now we can do it standing up. That is a nice solid table, which is perfect. Look at that. If we day want it, that would have been binned. So cheers for that, Andy. And Andy also put a photo on of his onions. Look at that, beautiful. I'm trying to talk him to get 3 of them into our show. Good man. I always carry these when if I'm doing a talk anywhere, especially if it's over 2 hours distance, because I get B&B. Obviously, it's always with a pub, so I'll go for a pint, and I always leave one of these as a calling card in the boozer whenever I leave. Right, couple of pots, couple of fruit trees in my pots. Back of the garden. When I've lifted them, just go back on that one again. These are my branch leeks and intermediate leeks, so these just placed on the edge. So when it does rain, it looks after them. So this is just lifting one of these pots up, and you'll see the activity underneath, i.e. worms, goodies. This is why you keep it, you keep your beds covered and then moist, because that moisture underneath it is working away. Nigel, are you ready, sir?
Yeah, ready to go, by the way. There's just a few pictures from the last 6 weeks ago. The first half a dozen of them just flowers that are spotted around the allotment. I always like to see flowers on the allotment because vegetables tend to be one colour, and it does tend to brighten up. There is one guy what does tend to probably put a third of his plot down to flowers, and it's always like a talking point. So these are just some what I call the pink allotment poppies, and there was like this red ladybird popped up in the middle for some reason, but I just thought it was a nice little colour to have a look at. Next. Again, that's another poppy. I just don't know where these come from, but so I tend to leave them. I do. I know they can get a bit invasive, but can just rip them out at the end of the season. Next. There are some lupins which I'm just going over. I've got in the back garden. So I have ripped all my borders out in the back garden now. I'm revamping it. So I'll probably be putting new plants in, but I've salvaged them, I've potted them up. Again, this bloke on the allotment, he grows this bottle brush, and I'm always amazed at the leaves on that. It's just marvellous how it just looks like the bottle brush for cleaning the bottles out.
Oh.
Next one. And that was like a deep purple poppy what come up. And again, we don't know where that's come from. Whether the birds brought it in or what, but it's I'm saving the seed for that, hopefully.
Nice colour.
Them are some, that's one of my hanging baskets in the back garden. Them are pendulum begonias from corns. I put 4 16-inch baskets out and 2 wall troughs just with begonias in, because the flower the heads off as long as you keep them watered, dead-headed and fed. Next. That's a corn cockle, and that come up in the border in my garden, and there's about 3 or 4. They're still in flower, it is, and it's got lovely flowers on, nice colours, nice and fresh. But we just had a drop of rain there, as you can see the droplets. That's a delphinum I had, and you can see the size of the stem with my hand there. And it was the day we had that rain, and after the rain, it had bent her over and snapped it, and it was a crying shame. I should have tied them up when I knew the bad weather was coming. But the stem on that was huge. It was like a good 3/4 to an inch diameter.
Mm.
Exactly the same happened to me, mate.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking.
It is, yeah. I've chopped that down now, moved it, and it's just throwing new leaves up I've repositioned it in the garden. But,
good size flower on them as well, isn't there?
Yeah, look, the beauty. It was a beautiful plant, it was.
Yeah.
Next. That one there is called a Cerseum Rivulari or something. Cirsium, and that it's got lovely. The flower will open up a lot bigger than that, and it produces masses and masses of flowers, and the bees love them. Next. That's just a combination of lettuces I grow. Again, we just had a rain shower there. There's I think the red one in the middle is called it's an oak leaf Navara. But I do tend to mix the lettuces up rather than do them military style. Again, on the very left of the picture there is the last lot of me peas, the Erskine green shaft. The mice ate more than I got off the last crop. I only had about 6 pods off the last when I come to harvest them. In a week, they'd stripped them. Next to them is some beetroot, bolt hardy, mixture of lettuce again. The red row is one called Infrared. If anybody's ever grown that before, that's a really good lettuce. But some people say the leaf is a bit thicker than the normal lettuce, but I like them. And on the right is some celery, and that's Latham self-blanching. That's done really well. I've actually lifted one plant and added so they've done good, a bit earlier than usual as well. Next. Just like Mick had done earlier on, them are the grapes I've actually pruned and thinned out. It is heartbreaking pruning the grapes, but you've got to do it, like Mick says, to get the airflow around, give them a good feed, and they do benefit from it, and say that was just off the one rod. That was that there is a Kohlrabi. That one is called, just have a look on my list. That one there is called a Cossack, and I've only been growing these about 2 or 3 years, and them are lovely, nice, grated up in a salad or stir fry or something like that. Really nice. That's a green and called Cossack. And there's the next picture shows you the red variety.
Nick, you got your hand up, mate, while I'm on that photo.
Yeah, the Kohlrabi.
Yeah.
I picked my onions out and garlic in June.
Yeah.
And chucked in my Kohlrabi, and they last year they did really well. This year they've like split into 4. It's the next
taking the water. You think he's taking the water up too quick, Nick, or what?
I don't know. I don't know because it hasn't been really hot or dry, and I've had rain, so I've got 2 or 3 that have formed that probably in 2 weeks' time I'll get some nice kohlrabi, but I've got 3 or 4 plants off the same batch that you know where it comes up from the stem there, and it forms the bow. Then it sort of splits into 4.
Well, I mean, like mutated.
Yes, it's weird. And to be honest, I don't think I'm going to grow kohlrabi again.
Oh.
No, I just wonder what your thoughts on it was.
I've never had no problem growing them. There's the red variety.
That's it. I've had a couple like that, but where it goes up into the centre, it's split into 4.
That one's called Ballot or Ballo, Ballot. But really, within the space of a week, I usually try to do my cropping for the weekend. So I looked on the Friday, and these was quite small, and I thought I'll leave them a week. Well, it was a week we had all the rain, and from one weekend to the next, they'd actually, I thought they'd gone out. They was actually too big to what I did.
Yeah. They grow very quick from when they start to bulb up.
Look at the next picture, you'll actually see the size of them. Them are bigger than I'd like to take them, actually.
I've never grown kohlrabi that big. Never.
But,
are they still usable that size, Nigel?
Yeah. Well, the ones we've had, they haven't gone tough, nothing like that.
Oh,
but say I love them grated up. You can do like coleslaw and stuff like that.
What else do you use them for cooking wise? Because we tried roasting them and they're just horrible.
we tend to use them in stir fries, lads.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do they taste like?
It's a taste like, I suppose it's a mix, I'd say, between raw cabbage and celery.
Okay.
Them are just as a picking of beans. Them are a mix that you can, like Nick was saying a bit earlier on about them, the French beans going over. Right at the left-hand corner, there's a mix, some there of Cobra and Blue Lake, and you can see already the seeds have started swelling in there. But the other beans there, them are Benchmaster. They are. I've got them young. I've got the one now. I looked this morning. It must be about 18 and 19 inches long. One of the Benchmaster beans. I've just left it on the floor because I want to leave it and I might take seed off it.
Yeah.
Next one, mate. That's my lifting me garlic. That's a variety called Marco, and I tend to grow that one every year, and it's always produced a really good crop.
Roger, when did you put them in?
I would say they went in probably about October, I think, late October.
And when did you lift them?
Probably about 6 weeks ago.
Oh, okay. That's quite late.
Yeah. Well, I needed the space because I've put some leeks in where my lake leeks. I put in there where they were. Next one, Nick. That's some Calabrese. That's a variety called Iron Man. And nice. You get some huge florets off that. You do real big.
Good strain then.
It don't blow very fast either. I've grown some in the past where you've got to catch them within a day or two, or the florets have gone, but they tend to hold on. They just keep expanding, and you can more or less tell. And I'll say I picked them just about the right time. There's another lot of beans. Benchmaster on the right and Cobra and Blue Lake on the left. That's another one of the Calabrese, the Iron Man.
And when did you pick that from when you took the photo?
That was ready for cropping then. I started, because the other thing with brassicas, when I crop my brassicas, I always take the roots out and all, just in case there's any risk of club root in the ground. But I'm fortunate that I don't get club root, because I used to use our Militox. Now I'll use Polka on the ground and say touch wood.
Have you ever used a thing called mocap?
Never heard of that.
Oh, okay. Fucking quiet.
What's it called? Mocap.
Mocap. It's like a nematode insecticide. You can't get it anymore, but it just basically kills all the bacteria in the soil.
So that Polka's good. If you've ever used that, it's like a little blue granular thing, and when it put it on the top of the ground. When it gets wet, it changes to hydrated lime.
Yeah,
and it's quite a good thingy. Next one, Mick. There's some more. Them ones are just starting to blow. If you look on the one in the blue tray in the bottom corner, you can just see the florets starting to pop
Sorry
out.
to keep on, Nigel. I've got another question for you.
Yeah.
Your broccoli, I love it. I've got 12 that are probably going to come out within the next 1 or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And what? It's always too much, a glut of everything. And when I freeze it, the wife moans when she takes it out of the freezer, gets it, it turns to mush. You've got any tips on freezing it or not?
Freezing that, we peel them florets off into little inch and a half thingies, straight into a freezer bag, no blanching, nothing, whack them in the freezer. And there's very few veg I'll freeze. There's broccoli, Brussels sprouts, and cauliflower, and the rest I'll only eat fresh. I won't freeze beans, nothing like that.
Yeah, it's fun. It's weird, isn't it? Because my French beans are Cobra. I'll freeze them every day. I'll blanch them for 30 seconds, cool them right off under cold water and freeze them. But the broccoli just turns to mush and she hates it.
No, we've never had no problem with that. It's still like fairly good florets when it comes out the freezer for that. Yeah. That's Iron Man. Have you ever grown Iron Man?
No, I haven't. No.
Why won't you freeze your beans, Nige?
I've tried it before, and like Nick's as with his Calabrese, my beans, I think they got the flavour's gone and them like rubbery.
Oh right, okay.
Them and me leeks I put in where I think I had some overwintering onions in there. I tend to do a light sowing of leeks. Some of them have only gone in the last fortnight. And
you get good leeks off then?
Yeah, but you're talking about March.
Ah, okay. I was going to say
and so I'll get very little damage. I might get the odd bit of rust, but there's no other pest damage on them.
You feed the ground at all with the leeks?
I give a superphosphate earlier in the season. That's about it. That's all I do. I'd blossom end rot on one tomato plant. Now these are grown in auto water system. I think these are in the quad grow greenhouse sensation system.
That's unusual.
And all the plants, the reservoirs have never gone dry. All the plants, that's a Crimson Crush tomato, which is a blight resistant variety. And all the plants have had the same compost. I potted them all up at the same time. The reservoirs never run dry, but there's only one showing that calcium deficiency, and that was that one plant.
What you putting in your quad grows?
I'm using their feed, the ones from Greenhouse Sensation. I can't remember what it's called now.
That's got to be plant related and not feed,
because there's calcium in that one feed. What it's specified because I looked on the label.
Yeah.
But, I've cut the truss off that, and the other plants higher up have had no problems. Them are growing okay.
Weird, isn't it?
Yeah, strange.
Sorry to interrupt. I've had one tomato on my plant with blossom end rot. One tomato.
And was the rest
just one tomato? Okay? It was fine. It was crimson plum.
Oh right.
Literally one tomato.
What, that's a crimson. Crimson Crush. So I wonder if it's with the crimson variety or something. I don't know.
You know what, Nigel?
Yeah.
I'd never grow Crimson Crush again.
Why? Don't you like
No, I'll tell you what. I grow a variety called Akron, and I'm growing probably 80 or 90 plants, and the Crimson Crush has done okay, but the Akron has gone. It's just 6-7 trusses, but 10 fruit per truss.
I like the flavour of Crimson Crush. I mean, I've grown all the popular ones like Alicante, Gardener's Delight for flavour, but I like that. And I think I've got 12 of these plants growing in the plot in the bed on the allotment as well. These are in the greenhouse. I think the flavour is better off the allotment ground because obviously the soil's got more micronutrients than the stuff I'll give it in. And I can tell the difference in the flavour. I did a trial about 3 years ago I grow Crimson Crush, another variety called Mountain Magic, and another one called Furline. And Crimson Crush come out best for flavour for me.
Have you ever tried Akron?
No, no.
Right, write it down and give them a go next year. The Crimson Crush, I've grown them 2 or 3 years, and they're okay. I've grown them
out. Resistant, the Akron.
Yeah.
And who sells those?
I think your Crimson Crush is very good, but it's a very good blight resistant outside variety.
Yeah.
But your Akron inside, you'll be shocked on what it will produce. You get.
Who does the seed for that?
I think King Seed, Dobies. There's several about. Just Google it. Akron, Akron. I'll tell you what, it's the most prolific tomato I've ever grown over the last 2 or 3 years.
Cheers, thanks.
Next one, Nick. Oh, sorry.
That ain't mine.
No, it's mine. You're finished.
Now I've got more left.
More?
Yeah, loads more. That's it.
That's it. Look at that.
That's a cake my wife made, and that's a black currant and raspberry. And it was fantastic. That was.
Yeah, mate.
It looks it and all.
Take the next picture, Mick.
No, that's cheating.
And there's
we're going back. That's cruel. That is, Nigel.
It's lovely with a drop of cream on that, was it?
Bloody hate that now.
Okay.
Nigel?
Yeah.
You said you like seeing some flowers on the allotments.
Yes.
I'll send Mick some photos of our allotment plot next week.
I'll love to see. I love to see flowers on allotment. I think everybody should have some flowers on their allotment to break it up.
Well, about 80% of our plot is all flowers. It's an extension of our garden.
Send Mick the pictures. I'd like to see them.
I'll send photos and he can put them on next week.
Superb. Cheers, Steve. Right, them are Baltardi beetroot. There's some are going to be bigger than others. I usually take them around about a bit tennis ballish, but some are going to be, but never mind. We just boil them up, and we always pickle our beetroot. So next picture, Mick. There they are, all jarred up, ready. And they last for ages. But them there are radish, French breakfast tree. I've grown those in the veggie pod. They just sow them and let them go. They look after themselves. Nice clean radishes. Next, them there are my elephant garlic. Them, again, I had a good crop this year off them. Now, strangely enough, with them, I usually get being like a hard neck. I usually get the scapes come up, but there's probably only half of them put a scape up this year. But they'd all produced a big ball. Oh,
Nick, your question, mate.
It's just a quick one, Nigel. On your beetroot, yeah, nice. And the bigger they get, the woodier they get. Yeah. Do you grow the cylinder type? The long varieties. I grow 2 varieties called Alco and Cylinder, and I find them a lot more easier to.
I've tried the Cylinder one, yeah.
Yeah, and the other one is the Alto. Have you grown that?
No, I'm just writing that down now.
Alto. It's an Italian variety. It's really good. It produces probably, if you leave it long, it probably produces beetroot 6 to 8 inches long.
Obviously, like a moolie, is it like that type of thing?
Say again?
Is it like a moolie? Like, have you seen them moolies, the radish type, the white long radishes?
Yeah, it's like a long variety. It grows to about 6 to 8 inches long, and they push themselves up like beetroot do. But they're really good for if you're into pickling beetroot. Yeah, they produce the younger you pick them, the sweeter they are. But they're really good for pickling.
And do they produce multi plants out the one seed? Like
yeah. I grow everything multi seed, multi plants. Right. All my beetroot, I grow everything multi seed.
Thank you. Next one, Mick. That there's a cabbage. That's a golden acre. Cabbages have done really well this year. I've done golden acre, greyhound, and I can't remember. Killerton was the other one. Cauliflowers have been a total disaster. I've done Clapton and all year round, and every one I've had
On the seed.
The biggest head's gone to about tennis ball size, then it's just blown.
Yeah.
It's been an awful year.
Yeah, mine are just split. They're gone. And
yeah, but so the cabbages have done really well. So that's that one there's golden acre.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you another question, Nigel, because you're a bit of an expert. Sorry to keep butting in.
No, okay,
but my cabbage. I mean, I've grown giant cabbage. I'll put some pictures up. Hopefully, I'll send them to Mick. I've got cabbages 45, 50 pounds in weight. But my general cabbage this year, I put them in late spring or early spring, mid-spring to grow on. And they've taken like all summer to heart up. Is that lack of? I don't think it's a lack of nutrients. I don't know.
The only thing I do in my bed before I just lie me brassica bed earlier in the year, probably about 4 to 6 weeks before I'm going to plant it, and I just rake it in. And if it ain't rained, I'll give it a housing in. But that's all I do in brassicas, and I very rarely water them either. I like them so the roots go down. Them there and my shallots, not as good as them I had off Colin, but but these there are golden gourmet, and we just use them for pickling. A very good year. It looked a bad year when I first put them out because I always start my shallots off in 24 cell trays, and I was late putting them out. And when I actually fetched them out, there's root bound. It was just a mass of roots as I went. So I just popped them into the ground, and the split, and there was light developing, but they did swell up, and say I did get a good crop. So if you next one, Mick, that's them all top and tailed and peeled ready. Next one, Mick, and there they am in the jar, and hopefully they'll last till Christmas.
You on your onions when you top and tail them for pickling, do you how long do you leave them before you pickle them?
Straight away.
Straight away.
What I'll do, I'll top and tail them, then I soak them overnight with salt.
Ah, okay.
Salt water.
Yeah. And then put them in there. And I use white vinegar. I think is it white vinegar you use them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you put any sugar in?
No. I like them rock hard, and so that like sends shooting pain up your jaws. I love it.
Yeah, I tend to. It's a bit like my beetroot. I like to put a bit of sugar in just to sweeten them up a bit.
I like it like that, and a nice thick cheese cob or something.
Take the hairs off your chest.
Took them off my head. That's the next one, Mick.
Nigel, you know you're coming to our show to do some filming.
Yeah.
For the troops.
Yeah.
Don't forget to bring your jars of preserves.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Empty your stuff. And your cake, one of them cakes are bloody win. I'd make sure of that.
Yeah, I'll have a word with the chef. That there's my first picking of my celery. You can see a chunk missing out there. I actually broke it off to try it, and that's a variety called Latham self-blanching. And I just start them off in modules again. Actually, this year, the guy who's, I can't remember where he's from now, down Bristol way, some Polish lady spoke to him and says, what you want to do is get your celery seed, tip it into a little pot of water and put it in the fridge overnight. So I did that, and I did it, I sowed some exactly the way I normally did in compost. The following day, you prepare your seed tray and just pour the seed out the water straight into this and it germinated at least twice as quick as a conventional sowing. That was just by giving it a cold spell overnight before I sowed it. But then say that I've got 36 bunches of them celery to go at, and we've started picking already. Lovely flavour, lay them self-blanching. I pack them in really close, and so they look after themselves.
You don't actually cover. I'll tell you what, I'll put my hands in the air. I've never grown celery.
Yeah. I can't be bothered with all these trenching and that. I'll just whack them in, pack them in really tight. There's no light in there when the what's it in there. The middle of them is white as snow.
Yeah. So you don't blanch them or anything?
No, just as it is. Then that's a self-blanching variety of those, and that was the end. That bunch there was the end plant, so that would be getting light.
Oh, okay.
Next,
See if you got your hand up, mate.
What variety is it, Nigel?
It's called Lathom, Lathom, and self-blanching.
And sorry, to be a bit to celery. Do you put them in modules and plant them out?
What I do, Nick, I sow them in a 3 or 4 inch pot, scatter it on, put vermiculite on, water it, and then I just scatter the seed on the top. And then when the seedlings are about ½ inch high, I prick them out into 24 cell trays, and then I plant the actual cell out.
What, from a 24-inch tray, yeah?
Yeah, a 24 cell tray, and that there is one plant.
Okay.
Next one, Mick. Them there are what I call banana shallots.
Zebra.
Now these are the red variety called long red Florence. I have got some Zebrune as well, which is the white, but these are the red ones called long red Florence. I think they're Italian. The chefs get mad after these. You can sow them individual, start them off like any normal onion and plant them out as individual, or I have done them in. I'll grow these start these off in 40 cell trays, 5 by 8, and I'll just do 2 or 3 seeds in the cell.
When did you start that in February?
Yes, and I'll 2 or 3 seeds, and I'll grow some in clumps and some as individuals, and that's the sort of things you get out of them. The long red Florence.
It's pretty amazing, then.
Brilliant.
Next one, there they are. That's a baker's bread tray, that is, and there's some nice what's it in there. Them are in my greenhouse now, just drying out like that. But the good thing about these, both them and the Zebrune one, they'll store. Providing I haven't eaten them all, I can have them till like March, April, and they'll still be rock hard.
Yeah. What do you use them for? Chuck them in stews and stir fries?
Yeah, stuff like that. But you can eat them. They ain't very harsh onion. They're a nice onion, but they do keep very, very well. That's the next one, Mick.
Suzanne, you got your hand up? Question?
When you're growing these shallots, do you actually make the bunches smaller? Do you prick some out halfway through?
I grow them exactly like onions with the seed till they come up. Then I put them then into a 40 cell tray. Standard seed tray.
So they just grow singular.
Yeah,
and they don't grow in bunches.
No. You can actually start them off in the cell tray, the 40 cell tray.
If you then planted a couple of these, as sets, would you then get the bunches?
I do put multiple seed in one cell, so I can get 3 or 4 plants out. And what they do, they just muscle themselves out of the way, and they'll be slightly smaller than the individual ones. But so the best way to do them is get a 40 cell tray, fill it with compost. I always water my compost first, and then just get a pencil, dib a little out and just drop a seed in each one, and let them go like that. Then plant out.
Right.
What's it?
Brilliant, lovely.
So that's that. Next one, Mick. And that's the size of some of them.
What variety is that, Nigel?
It's called long red Florence.
Long red Florence, right?
Florence, and they do a white variety called Zebrune. Zebrune.
Yeah, I've done Zebrune this year, and they've done very well.
They store tremendously well. They say March, April. If you ate them all, then they'll still be going hard and really good. I think that's it, chaps.
Corkers,
and ladies.
No, thanks, Nigel. Excellent.
No just a quick one, Nigel.
Yeah.
You know those shallots I sent you. I start my shallots off in December in 4-inch pots.
Right.
4-inch square pots in multi-purpose compost in a cold greenhouse.
Yeah.
Just water them once and then leave them.
When do you usually put them out?
Hang on a minute. Let me have a look at my book. If they need potting up, I will pot them up.
Yeah.
Hang on a minute. I've got it here somewhere. I used to be able to remember all these.
Got the captain's log out there.
Yeah. Like mid-December, early January, start them up. Plant out 7th of March, harvest 7th of June.
Right. Okay. I've only just lifted these. Probably.
I think the key thing to onions, things would especially onions, whether you're growing big ones or small ones, you need to grow them at a gradual stage and don't get any stunt in life.
Yeah,
that's right. I tell you what, I'll put it on next time I do some. But if you remember, I was contemplating lifting my shallots before the rain came.
Yeah.
I lifted one batch, which was fine. The rain came and I lifted the second, not so many, but they all went really, they've all gone double.
Yeah, that's a temperature check.
Yeah.
I thought it might have been due to because it was a really good downpour, and I just thought it had made them burst into life again. Yeah. But, that's still usable. I still plant them up, like, you know. But
we've had a bad rain shower today. Quite a good one, because I was going to lift some of my onions today, and I never got out in time. Right, that's it. Anybody got any questions before Mick carries on?
Thanks, Nigel.
No problem.
Thanks, Nigel. Brilliant as always.
Well done, Knowledge.
Good man.
Let's have the recipe for the cake.
Bloody lovely that was. Right, top of the garden. I've got me red sets up, which I had from Wilco earlier on, and me 2 onions drying out. Still got my fan on, solar powered, and there's 2 red ones there because we got a class for heaviest onion from a set. So I've left all everything on there, the old leaves, everything. Obviously, because they're going to put weight on. So I'm keeping them 2 as well. Cleaning the bottom of the onions, I just get my thumbnail from working from the outside, go working in, just in case you slip. You've got to get that nice and clean. It's got a couple of weeks now to clean up, which they will do. Else Godfrey, superior being. Why? Because I won the worm wheel a couple of weeks ago. And as for liquid fish, this is what I used to send out. When I first started doing this, mate over Jersey asked for a bottle. And I sent him this bottle. This is a water bottle, which the mother-in-law used to use. And I sent that by post to Jersey. When he opened it up, the postman threw a fit because this had it had split. Ruined all the mail in his bag.
Oh dear. And
he says, well, they'll throw the bloody packages about. It had got a little sticker on. Fragile. In a row, them are weak. What I do now is I buy these. Lidl hadn't bloody got none because that'd have been half the price. But these are nice, solid bottles. So when I sell else package out, it was in one of them. There we go. That's when I get them off Gareth Hopcroft. That's how I get it off him, the liquid fish. That's nice and solid in there. Because it isn't solid, it's thick. I have to put that in a jug of hot water, boiling water, to supple it up so I can tip that out into here. But 1 drop of that to a liquid, to a litre of rainwater, and a fortnightly feed on everything. Beautiful stuff. Liquid fish. It's just another manure. Fish manure. Right, this was a couple of days ago. I had another delivery of spent tops, and you'll see the rabbit muck there. Because there ain't many people doing much on site. We've got our AGM for the site next Thursday. That should be good. And raspberries. These are started fruiting now. I'm eating these for with my yogurt on a weekday in the morning. Plus, I've got another dollop up here because I'm going to make some jam for our show. So the weight of fruit, I put exactly the same weight of sugar. Soften all the fruit up. When that's all softened, then I put warmed sugar in. Obviously, jam sugar, and that's been warmed in the microwave. bring it to the boil, rapid boil 4 minutes, stirring all the while. Then I pour them out into a jug, which pours into the jar better. I don't get no gum around the outside to clean. Then I put a nice little top on it and put him on the side. Now he's still standing now. Obviously that goes on top and then the lid. And don't forget that jar is still hot. That jar was warmed up in the sink of warm water before, so he didn't crack. But that is now gone aside. And I did a test, turned him upside down the next day, and he was nice and solid, which is exactly what the judge is going to do. That's another
Nick,
flower.
where'd you get your tops from? They go on the jam jars.
Then there.
Yeah.
Amazon, eBay, anything like that.
Okay. Thanks.
And my labels.
You can use non-stick baking foil just to put over the top to seal it.
Greaseproof paper.
Greaseproof paper, yeah. You don't have to buy them. Just greaseproof paper at Tesco.
Tea bags.
This is another chap I've opened up top of the garden. I can't remember him from last year.
Flocks.
Thank you, sir. Peoples. There's the hound with the chicken. He won't last long. Right, new stuff that's growing up. The black-eyed Susie can just about make him out. He's going up that line prop and that side there. Another couple of weeks of sun, if we're going to get them, they will look better. Pom-pom dahlia, he's putting a bit of meat on now. And there's quite a few new flowers coming out. Bung them on next week. And another week and he'll be opening up. That one's just opening up as well. Nice orange one. And that's it, people. Speakers so far for next week with their updates. I've got Scott Cooper, Lynn Griffiths, and I could do with two or three more. Steve, you mentioned earlier on, you send us some photos of your flowers on your plot. So there's two more with an update. Send me your photos. And hope you've enjoyed it, people.
Right. Very good, Mick. Well done.
Thank you, Mick.
Can I just put a general question out to people before they all go?